All right. So, I mean, I think for this one, it's an interesting follow-up to the last virtual collaborative where we talked about strategic planning and using formalized models that are kind of used out there in the world, like strategy maps and balanced scorecards. And so thinking about that, knowing that, Michael wanted to start that, essentially right away in Harmony, we've been working the last few weeks, on getting that ready to present to leadership there. And it's been a really, I think, fun exercise, but I think Harmony's also done a really good job of implementing a ton of ideas that, sort of started at TPAS. So, for this go around, really looking at, okay, how, when you actually try to implement these things, what are the challenges? What are things that are working really well? And so we came up with a short list, everything from that strategy one from last one, the one that, Duke did, on Days of, what was it, Lauren?
Days of Hope.
Days of Hope, and a bunch of others. So kind of wanted to turn this over to Michael a little bit, and we'll kind of go through these, go down the list, and then just essentially kind of talk out, okay, what have we done so far, and how is it working? Where are some things that maybe were more interesting or more difficult than anticipated once these things are implemented in the real world. So anyway, Michael.
Oh, yay. I am so excited to be here on this Zoom to talk about what we're going to talk about, real world implementation of TPAS ideas, because when I think about this discussion, it really just brings to mind this is exactly why TPAS was created. And to be able to really, take what we learn at the collaborative and actually apply it, make it applicable, is huge, because we learn so many things at TPAS. I mean, we come back with a ton of ideas, and sometimes we wonder, does anybody actually implement what they learned and what they were so excited about when they were talking about it at the collaborative? And so to be able to, in a matter of a year, going to 2 different collaboratives and implementing 5 different ideas pretty successfully at Harmony has been really awesome, because it just goes to show, the TPAS spirit. And that's what I really want to focus on too on this Zoom call, is that not the TPAS spirit not only exists at the collaboratives for all of us to feel the love and the support, but when we leave the collaborative, I was able to and continue to experience that TPAS spirit of, hey, I felt the love and the support there. I still feel it virtually from everybody that brought those set ideas to the table that I wanted to implement, which is incredible. And so with that being said, in the last year, the 5 different ideas that I have taken from 2 different collaboratives that have been implemented have been, the virtual meetings. We've implemented Days of Harmony, which was something that Pine Grove and Futures did. We've also implemented a mobile app via CaredFor, and we've also been able to successfully build a very affluent TPAS chapter group for Colorado. And none of this would have been possible if I didn't still receive the support from the TPAS people at the collaborative, virtually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you want to just pick one, and we'll start with that, and we gotta just dive deep into the process of putting it together.
Yeah, we'll do my favorite, and because Lauren's on here, because she was a big part of it. My favorite one that I've been able to implement successfully is Days of Hope from Pine Grove, and Futures calls it Days of Ascent. And I now call, my version of it Days of Harmony. And that is a revisit program that Lauren had talked about, and Ryan Miller, who is the president of TPAS, they talked about this amazing revisit program for alumni to come back to campus and to get immersed in clinical care. And the reason that one really hit me at a year ago is because I had just done a survey with my alumni and asking what they wanted more of. And the number one thing that they wanted was more involvement on campus. They wanted to be able to come back to campus. And so when that idea was presented at TPAS via Ryan and Lauren, I was like, this is the idea that I'm going to take and run with. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And so when I got back to Harmony and I understood this is what we wanted to do, I was a little nervous at first to reach out to Lauren and Ryan, because I was like, oh, they're so busy, I don't want to bother them. Or are they like, do they really mean what they say when they said that they would help us, like help anybody design this program? I just had a little bit of fear about feeling like being a bothersome to them. And then I was just like, Michael, you got to get over that. So with a little help from Gina, my boss, Gina Thorne, who's a previous board member of TPAS, I reached out to Lauren and was like, hey, I really want to get this going. How do I do this? And, Lauren immediately responded, and we set up basically weekly calls, if not, emails in between, for her to really help me champion like getting this program going, along with Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller also was, pretty critical in helping me do this. And it was that right there was when the light bulb went off, that I was like, okay, these people mean what they say, and they're going to do what they say. And they really helped me to address barriers that I was coming up against. They helped me, to be able, they helped me battle frustrations. They helped me to really, take a really beautiful approach, because I was able to, get to know my organization and how they flow. And I was able to kind of vent and, bounce ideas off of Lauren and Ryan, because they had been through this experience already. And so that really helped me to really streamline the process of getting this implemented. And it was successfully implemented in December of 2019. We have successfully had 4 days of Harmony so far. So it's pretty magical. I didn't know that that a process that seemed so daunting could really end up being so seamless and very easy, because of the support that TPAS members provide.
So what were some of the challenges, and what were happened on the first go around, that you were able to kind of chip away at issues on the second, third, and fourth? Tell us a little bit maybe about how it changed over time.
So in the beginning, when I brought these ideas, they said, the biggest thing that Lauren was like, talk to, don't just go right to leadership, talk to the people that are really going to be involved in your program, which are the people that are the techs, that's the nursing department, that's admissions, the administrative services. So I just started having casual conversations with people, not making it formal, just being like, hey, what would you guys think about having alumni back to campus, helping out with the clients, with the sitting down group, what are your thoughts? I just started having one-offs with different individuals, like the techs, the front desk people, the counselors. I started asking the counselors what their thoughts were. And I also asked them, hey, this is kind of what I want to do. I would just sit at the lunch table and talk to them about it. And I just very openly was like, hey, when I mentioned this, what are some immediate, some things that you're like, I don't know about this, Michael, or what are some really positive feedbacks? And so I just really opened it up as a conversation, instead of this is what I want to do. We're going to do this. You just have to deal. I really wanted to make sure that it was a team, because as we all know, we work in organizations where it's very team oriented. Everything we do, it involves almost every different facet, down to the housekeepers, you guys. I even approached the housekeepers about it, just to be like, hey, I care about your input too. And so I think the fact that they were able to coach me, especially Lauren, on starting out very casual, getting the buy-in from the counselors and the people that are going to be really involved with the alumni, on the day-to-day basis, before I brought it to leadership, to be able to say, hey, leadership, guess what? This is my idea. I've already been talking to, said employees and staff. This is how they feel about it. These are some of the challenges. And they really appreciated that I went to people on a granular level first, because then I was able to, it was an easy buy-in for them. So because I was doing it the way that Lauren and Ryan told me to do it, instead of just going straight to leadership, allowed for leadership to take some stress off leadership, because then I didn't ask the leadership to do all the work for me. I did the work for the leadership, so that the leadership were like, okay, if they already have the buy-in, now let's figure out logistics on how we can make this happen. Because I understand with organizations, it can be a big ship in a small rudder to get things going. And so I wanted to go about it as tactfully and strategically as possible to get that rudder to move a little bit faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you've got the staff energized about it, and then they're driving the idea too.
Yeah, and
about it.
And that was the other, I forgot about that. I'm so glad you started talking, Lauren. The other thing that really helped the staff to really be bought into it is that I was able to present to say, hey, this program has already been implemented in a couple different facilities, and it's very successful. And I was able to give them Lauren and Ryan's number to say, hey, if you want to talk to them, or if you want to talk to anybody on their clinical team, to be able to just vouch for how instrumental this program is. That was also for them, just to have that sort of just collateral piece to be like, oh, this isn't just something, Michael thought of out of thin air. This is something that has been a proven program that works in these other areas, and it could work at Harmony, and we just might have to adjust it to our culture a little differently. That was a huge selling point too, to just know that they could have other people to talk to besides me.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And how many are you doing a year?
So now we are actually doing one a month, and we're doing two. We allow 2 female alum and 2 male alum on campus each month. And we were going to do it quarterly, but the counseling team actually came to me and asked, Michael, can we do this every month so that every single location of residential gets alumni exposure? And at first I was like, oh, that's a lot. But then I was like, when it's only 4 alumni each month, that's very doable. And it really has very low impact on the counseling schedules. And also if and when census gets really high, it's still a doable number for the counselors, and also for the techs to manage. And right now, when I put it out there and I blasted it, Days of Harmony is sold out now through the end of the year. Like every single month is booked.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's wonderful.
Congratulations.
Dude, it's insane. But, and again, I get all emotional sometimes, because it's like, I wouldn't have even probably thought of this program or been able to implement it at the capacity that I did, in a very professional and caring and compassionate way, if it wasn't for TPAS. Like if I didn't go to the collaboratives, if they hadn't presented the ideas, and also, and if TPAS didn't really, have the ethics, not even the ethics, but the character that it actually, these people really care about helping each other out, that's how it happened. Because if Lauren and Ryan didn't actually, stand behind TPAS's values of saying, like, we're here for you, I don't know that I would have been successful in getting it launched. And that's, the beauty of TPAS, is attracting these people that genuinely care about these other programs and want them to be successful, because we all can't help the same demographics. So you might as well help each other build successful programs.
And the beauty of that is that what you just said ultimately benefits the client or the patient, the alum, and then it ripples out into their families and their lives, that this concept and support has now helped all those people, in many ways. So I envisioned these events being kind of more like groups coming back on campus. But I like how you have 4 people coming back on campus. It provides a more intimate experience, almost like a refresh, like a treatment refresh maybe. But I love the success that you're having around it. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's so rad. And I'm like, thank you, T. And I just, again, I owe it to TPAS. Like I owe it to this community. Like that's how it's helped me with that one. And then all the other ones that we've done, which are so great.
Let me ask you this, Michael, too. What was like as you were going through the process, and it sounds like, getting support, of other people who've gone through it, before was helpful. I mean, now that, in a lot of ways you're helping out, the next, group of programs, what was sort of the toughest, hardest question that you were being asked, when trying to get it going, so that where you're like, all right, in order to get their buy-in, I really need to address this aspect of it?
The biggest question was, which was interesting, was vetting the alumni. The biggest thing that the biggest thing that I came up with was they were like, well, how are you going to vet them, Michael? How do we know that they're safe? Like, how do we know that they might not have suicidal ideation in a small group setting? Like, what are you going to do to make sure that, we have like the best alumni up here? Like, are you, and then they said, we need to background check them. HR was like, Michael, like, we need to background check. And I immediately called Lauren and because I was really, I was offended. I was really offended that the clinical team would ask that, and even HR, because when I was talking with Lauren, we don't background check clients when they come to treatment. We don't background check to see how they are. And also in small group, like when they get interacted, we don't know how anybody is going to act until they get on campus and they get immersed in community. And so I just said, I went back to that with HR and I said, listen, it's not fair for you to ask that. Like you're gonna put this shame and guilt aspect on the alumni that, hey, making them feel like they might still be a bad person if they ever were, but just putting this perception in them that is not necessary, because we don't do that with clients when we admit them. So why are we going to do that with alumni? And so what I do, so I just said, listen, what I can do is I can vet them on the phone. And so what I did is I said, every time somebody signs up, I vet them on the phone. I ask them what their program of recovery is, because they have to be working a strong program of recovery. And then I also let them know in orientation. And also what I did for the entire staff is they all have a copy of Days of Harmony orientation, so they know exactly what I tell alumni. And I empower the staff as well when this program is going on, is that I tell the alumni, if at any point in time, at any time, if any staff member or any client feels that their safety or their experience on campus is being hindered, I can tap you on the shoulder and ask you to leave, no questions asked, because campus safety and client experience and client safety is number one for me. And I have a 0 tolerance policy for it. And so they really appreciated that I took that aspect. And to be perfectly honest with you guys, last week on my Days of Harmony, we had an alum on campus that was not adding to the client experience. After the first day, the clients felt that the said alumni was being overbearing and wasn't, was kind of affecting their recovery. So the next day when he showed up, I said, listen, I have to let you know that this is what's going on. You've demonstrated some behaviors that are affecting the client experience, and I have to ask you to leave Days of Harmony. And he looked at me and he was a little upset, and he said, I understand. And I presented the orientation piece again. I said, as you know, you signed this orientation piece that clearly states that if for any reason people feel unsafe, that you can leave. And he understood it, and he was a little upset, but he left. And it was right then and there last week that the staff was like, okay, like Michael is serious. Michael really does care about client safety and client experience. and she's not just going to let somebody stay on campus. And that was also for the current clients. It was actually a really beautiful learning experience, you guys, for them to see that, and for me to actually be able to talk to the clients about that, to say, hey, if you sign up for this program, in 6 months, when you have 6 months sobriety, you now know that I am very serious. If you come back to campus, you have to demonstrate certain behavior traits that are going to be beneficial. So we're learning.
Cool. No, that's all really, really awesome stuff to share, and I think helpful for everybody, because I think sometimes, it's easy to just to focus in on just the good parts of implementation, as if everything goes perfectly every time someone's supposed to do something. But this is, I think, where we can really learn from each other and say, like, oh, just a heads up, you're going to get asked this question, or you know what, here's like a very real thing that actually ended up happening, and this is how we dealt with it, and we were able to get ahead of it, so that way leadership, wherever, wasn't surprised by it, and you're trying to deal with it in real time. You were able to create a game plan around that situation beforehand.
Yeah.
Which I think is really helpful. So cool. So I'm just looking at the clock, moving along. Do you want to pick another one? I was going to pick one for you, but you're doing a great job.
Oh, well, the next one I really want to talk about is the alumni virtual meetings. So this was something that I learned about from Troy Meeks, who works at Transformations down in Florida. And this was in last spring, and he was talking about how he does weekly Zoom meetings for alumni, and that they have really taken off. He was averaging around 13 alumni per meeting. And, I was like, okay, maybe this is possible, because Zoom is HIPAA compliant. And I also was struggling with, how am I going to engage alumni that don't live in the immediate, greater Denver Collins area, where Harmony is in Estes Park, to be able to attend the live in-person peer meetings. And so I was like, Troy was just amped about it, because a couple other people asked about it. So I was like, I got to make this happen. I wanted to make sure that even the people that do live close, they had a meeting that they could tap into if they were stuck in traffic, if they couldn't make it to a meeting, if they were sick, or, if they live out of state, they still have a virtual way to connect with alumni. And so as soon as I got back from that collaborative in Malibu, I reached out to Troy and was like, hey, can you tell me some of your logistics? Do you have waivers? What do you do? And Troy just, started telling me all about how he does it, and how, eventually, we want to be able to get different alumni leaders to run the meeting, not just us ourselves, so that it can be self-ran, and how he always had topics. And so again, I was blown away by the fact that I could just call Troy and was like, hey, you talked about this at TPAS. I want to do this. Can you help me? And the fact that he immediately was like, yeah, Michael, let's make it happen. So he talked with Brian and I about it. We got topics, together, so that we could have topics planned out for 3 months. And he said, just be patient. You might have meetings where nobody shows up, but that's just the point. Sometimes it takes a hot minute. So we launched our Zoom meetings in December on Monday nights, our virtual meetings, so that we have our virtual meeting Monday night, and then in-person meetings Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so the very first meeting, we did an email blast, out to everybody. We had alumni come on from Idaho, from California, and from Colorado, just saying thank you for making this an option. And Brian and I were like, oh my God, people are on? Like this is happening? What? And these were alumni that were 10 years out of the program.
Wow.
And we're like, we just want to connect. And ever since then, every single Zoom, we've had at least 1 to 4 people on it. And, it's a slow go at first, but we're like, hey, we realize, it's only been a few months of doing it. And I totally enjoy doing it, because, I'll look nice in my nice shirt, and I'll stand up and I'm in PJ pants. I'm like, okay, guys, who's in your PJs? It's really creating this culture of just fun. And, we're all alumni just here, just trying to stay sober. And we have really real life topics, but even though we have topics, we just allow the conversation to flow in whatever direction it's meant to flow. So that's been really fun, you guys. I totally enjoy the Zoom alumni topic because people can, again, like they can access it from anywhere. So that to me is really important.
That's great. And that's like just a regular meeting. It takes a while for them to people, the word to get out and to see that you're, still doing it. And then they want to kind of see what's up with it after they hear about it for a while.
Yeah.
Really, that's cool.
It's so great.
And is it like a crosstalk meeting or is it is? Okay.
Yep, we crosstalk. We do like check-ins. We're like, hey, like, how's your week been on a scale of 1 to 10? And people will say like 10 or 6. And then like the alumni are like, hey man, why is it a 6? What can we do to support you? And then we just start talking. And then if there's ever a dead space, then Brian or I will say, so the topic that we did have for tonight, if you guys want to talk about this topic now that we have a little dead space, is boundaries or triggers or whatever it is. And then we just keep going. And then sometimes if we finish before 7, before an hour, then we finish early, and that's okay.
That's great. That's great.
Guys, it's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find
It's
that
so
people
easy.
got it?
It's easy.
Simple. Yeah, simple.
If they got Zoom, they were able to figure that part out just fine. That always.
Yeah. Did you run into anything with people using Zoom?
No, everyone that we've had, it's easy. We're like, just download it. No one's had any problems.
That's great.
But everyone's like, why don't you use Skype? And I'm like, because Zoom is HIPAA compliant, and it's just more universal. Maybe not more universal, but that's just what we know to use. So.
Yeah.
Did everyone cam up, or were some people calling in?
Some did it at first. Some people, I'm like, show yourself, and they're like, but I don't have any makeup on.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are PJs? Like I'm in, one night, like I had a horrible head cold. I'm like, do you see this red nose? Like, show your. So just
great.
What do you want to talk about next, Kevin? Do you want to talk about mobile, the mobile app?
I do.
Yeah.
In fact, I was actually picking that up, too, because I was thinking, okay, as you're doing all these like a wave of new activities with alumni, obviously some of that is now being promoted.
Yeah.
Through mobile, and I think for that one, I've seen a lot of people ask questions, in base camp about that, and maybe like start early, like before it started. Again, like how did you bring it to Harmony, and how did you explore it? I think you guys looked at a number of different apps. So like what were the things that were considerations as you were even picking options?
Yeah. Oh, like, so this CaredFor, I just tell you, like, I'll just say it's the bee's knees. And I think mobile apps are just like where I just feel like that's where it's really going with alumni. But so before we even had it, because Brian also, Tierney was also the brains behind helping me get this developed, is that we had been talking with Jim, our CEO, just about, what is a platform? Like, what is one space that we can just have all alumni activities, surveys, data, like just this one place for alumni to just be able to just go and just get everything that they need, once they leave treatment. Because I had started to develop a lot of different things, but you had to go, to the Facebook for one thing I was doing, or you had to go to, the website for something else, or I had to email you. You couldn't just go one place. And so we started looking at, we had heard that apps were coming out and that apps were also being designed specifically for the treatment center. So it wasn't like we could just go and sign up for something generic. All the different apps, and you'll have to excuse me, I can't remember the names of the other couple apps that Brian was looking at. But regardless, all the apps that we were looking at, we have to design. So they have the platform, but then you work with their IT department to say, this is how I want this app to be designed, because every organization is different and every organization is going to want something different. We also wanted an app that was going to be able to stream with Salesforce, because we use Salesforce at Harmony Foundation. So we wanted an app that would be compatible so that information from the hub would go to Salesforce, and back and forth so that we could share data collectively. So we had heard about CaredFor, and Clayton Nichols, who has been at the TPAS a couple times, works for CaredFor. And so we had a conversation with him a year ago in the spring about the app and what they do. And so he got Brian hooked up with Megan, who was one of the, who's a CaredFor tech as well, to talk about, what is the pricing? Because again, these apps are not inexpensive by we had to pay, a pretty penny for it. But also we look at, okay, this is what we're going to, our driving force behind it again is we're looking at alumni referrals, right, you guys? So if we have an app that costs about $40,000, which is like, oh my God. But you look at how streamlined it is, and then how easy it is for alumni to stay connected with just one device, and you take away all these different barriers where people are like, but where's this, where's this, where's this? It's like, oh, it's all right here. We're like, that money, like it can easily be made up. Like we start to look at like how cost efficient is this going to be, and is it really going to be used? And we really felt that with our demographic, when we made the proposal to our CEO, that we're like, we really feel that this is a very viable opportunity, especially because we have people that live all over. We don't just have people that live in one city. We're not just, we have people all over. And so we're like, we really feel that this would be beneficial. And especially because we have our vision of doing a lot of peer-to-peer recovery coaching. It's an app that's really great to do recovery coaching services on, and to be able to post videos. And so we wrote this big proposal for Jim on why it was so important that we at least try it, like, let's see what we do. And so he was, and because he really sees, I feel very grateful. We have a CEO that really sees the value in alumni services, and just, I don't even want to say alumni services, it's recovery support services, because we're offering it's recovery support essentially. So we wrote the proposal, we got the app, he was like, let's do it. But there's some back and forth on pricing that Brian had to deal with. But then right when we got started, we're like, okay, each one, before you sign an agreement, you can say, okay, these are the bare minimums that I want for the app. So one of our bare minimums was we wanted a sobriety calculator. We wanted to be able to have like certain like events to be posted. We wanted to be able to just have the privacy settings, whatever the settings were. Like we had to put all of this in the contract before. So what I will say is, when you guys are thinking of getting an app, is to really understand and get to know your alumni or your organization before getting one, so that when you're proposing that somebody gives you the amount of money that these apps ask for, they're like, okay, you really understand that this is why you need this app, or why you feel this would be beneficial, instead of just saying, hey, like, let's do this. It's like, but why do you want to do it? The other big reason we really wanted this app was for data collection. We really are moving more towards getting a lot more just data on early recovery, and being able to have a platform, again, to be able to send out surveys that will link with Salesforce, that will link with the client's profile, so that we can just get even more specific, so that we can really understand our treatment and recovery and why we're doing what we're doing based on these surveys. And we make them really fun and easy for the clients to fill out, because again, it's on an app. So we got the app going. And again, when we launched it internally first with just a bunch of people on campus, employees, to play around with it, to do messaging, because again, when they're so individualized, there's going to be some bugs, there's going to be some kinks that need to be worked out. So we did a soft launch with our employees so that they could, get on it, test it out, message, comment, see what was working, what wasn't working, so then we can go back to Megan. And I can't tell you enough about CaredFor. Their tech support is incredible. Like, the moment we had an issue, they would get back to us within minutes, and we would fix it and figure it out. So as soon as we got a lot of the kinks figured out, we launched it, and we launched it back, oh gosh, I want to say it was probably it was in the fall, it was right after the reunion, so around September. And right when we launched it, people were kind of like, what is this? And so what we did as part of, to get clients to know about it. So we did an email blast, but what we do now is before clients leave Harmony, we actually have admissions encourage people to bring their cell phones to campus, and understanding that it's only for clinical purposes, like meaning the only time they get their cell phone now on campus is when they're with Brian or I, or if they need numbers, obviously. But we sit down with our clients, we download the app with them on their phone, we show them how to use it, we get them integrated right away so that as soon as they leave Harmony and they get off the mountain, they have a place to connect. Like, they get to know how to use the app so that they feel very comfortable and safe when they leave campus. So it's been really wild to see not only our current clients get on it, but we have clients, alumni that are like 15 years out that have found people on the app now that are like, oh my God, how are you doing, James? Oh my God, it's Rick. And you're like, oh my God. It's really cool to see. And so the one thing that we do is that we tell people, we're like, hey, it's like Facebook for you, but it's also, again, it's HIPAA compliant. You don't put your last name on. It's your first name, last initial. We don't allow private messaging on the app because we want to keep it very clean. The only people that alumni can message are myself, Brian, or Jim, our CEO, because he's on the app. And we're really excited about it. I will say when we've talked about CaredFor, there have been some people that have been like, oh yeah, Michael, that's great, but it's going to die off. Like, you're not going to get people that are going to stay on it. And, and that's true, because ultimately we really want this app to be for the people in their infancy, in their first, year of sobriety, to have this as a place to really connect. But then it's just a part of life to transition, because we want to be able to people to keep growing. We don't want people to use this as their only source of sobriety. We really see this as an app that, yes, the older you get, you can always come back to it, but this really is for the people that are right away transitioning out, to be able to get connected, get surveys fired at them, see events that are going on, get plugged in, get in the habit of finding community, and then, transition out. So, it's been interesting. Like, we definitely have gotten some heat from people about, like, is it really viable? And I absolutely believe it's viable, because it's, like I said, you're always going to have a new alumni coming in that are going to need it, and it's always going to be serving somebody. So, yeah.
Cool. So how many people do you think need to be on it in order to kind of reach a critical mass?
So what was interesting, I was just going to pull up our numbers. Originally we were like, if we just get like 60 people, if we can just get 60 people to interact, by the end of the year, like, we'll be good. Like, because we were looking at critical mass for how many people were logging in. And excuse me again, I don't know exactly how Jim and Brian came up with that number, but they're like, if we can get at least 60 active users, like, that's pretty good. And then by the end of December, we had over 120. Wow. Now we have over 151 active users every single day. So there's we had over 846 people that were active throughout the month, but we have all the time 151, which is pretty cool. And it shows up on your little dashboard. Like, you can see all the numbers,
neat.
Your analytics. You can see how many active users. You can see how many new users. We had 10 new users. We had over 1,000 logins. So we can really track, and then how many posts. We can really see, like, who's being really active, because then we also do, like, this challenge and reward system for how, like, when people are active, we give you Starbucks gift cards if you complete a challenge. We allow them, like, all those, so we're like just getting started. I can't wait to see where it's going. Honestly, you guys, especially for the data side, and being able to do surveys, because a lot of times it's hard to get. I have found it's been a big thing for me, hard to get people to do surveys. But when I get them to be able to just do, like, something that's in an app, because we're always on our phones anyways, like, it's kind of ridiculous how often we're on our phones. But, to just get them to do a 5-question survey, every month, it's cool. I just think apps are super brilliant for where our space is, just, with social media and technology in general now. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. You're just a beautiful platform too.
It's cool.
It's cool.
Yeah. And like, you know, and I'm really excited for anybody that even comes to TPAS in Maryland, for anybody that wants to, you know, like sit with me. I'll even put a cared for thing up like as an open space. So if anybody wants to just sit and see how we do it, you know, for them to be able to just really get a real life look at it. I'm totally down, because like I said, it's a great way for them to be like, hey, what's going on with Harmony? Like, boom, it's right here. It's on this app. And it's also an app that is not triggering. It's not Facebook. It's not Snapchat. It's not Instagram. So if anybody has issues with that, it's like, hey, here is a brand new app that is like sober central. And the cool part about it too with this, therefore, you can share it to your Facebook or Instagram if you want people to know. You can link it to your social media if you want. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It's so fun. It's like, it's crazy how in depth it can go. Like, I mean, literally what I've realized with CaredFor, you know, the sky is the limit. There is no limit. Like, they are all about, you know, it's kind of like our vision is their creation. So whatever we're envisioning, they will help you create it to the best of their ability, which is really awesome. And again, I can't say enough good things about the CaredFor team. They're incredible.
Cool.
Don't tell Clayton.
Awesome. So what's the next one you want to check off?
Oh, like, isn't it, guys? This is what I just love. Every time, like, now when I talk about this, again, this wouldn't have happened if we weren't at TPAS, hadn't met Clayton, hadn't had such, like, a great one-off conversation with him about CaredFor. You know, again, to anybody that listens to this recording, like, we were able to have a one-off with Clayton, like, in between sessions, and that's what you get to do. You get to find people that you're like, I really want to talk to you more about this. And just how genuine and honest and open he was about certain things. It's just like, it's just so beautiful. It's just, I get so dorky about it because it's just rich. So, anyway, sorry. That was my moment. The next thing we want to talk about is this. You want to talk about the TPAS chapter group or the strategic planning?
Just keep on rolling.
The strategic planning. Okay,
Yes.
guys, and anybody watches the recording, like, this is where it's at. So Kevin brought up about a month ago about strategic planning for alumni, right? Like, being able to really understand, like, why we do what we do and how every single part of your organization is connected to your vision and your growth and why we do things. So he had this beautiful strategic plan up, and all I could do was look at it, and I was like, I need that. Like, I need to be able to be so organized in how I do what I do and when I'm presenting to leadership about why this is important, so that if I tend to get sidetracked because, you know, people are always coming up with great ideas and I'm like, let me do that. And it's like, wait, Michael, you have a plan. Like, sidebar that, okay? Like, take a back seat. It's really important for us because sometimes I feel like, for me, especially in this role, I just want to create. And sometimes I don't always, like, really link why I'm doing everything. And so to have a plan in place and to understand, okay, these are the financial goals. Like, this is what it's all about. But this is how we're going to get there. And this is the why behind I do everything that I do, is really important. And it's really important to know, like, how to initiate everything that an alumni coordinator director does. And so to have it on a piece of paper, a map, like, strategically outlining what we're doing, you know, it's not only important for, I think, for ourselves, but also for leadership and for people to understand we don't just throw pizza parties, or we don't just, you know, throw alumni homecomings. We do so much more. And to also understand that our role plays a big part in the entire organization. So Kevin, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I need this. I need to develop this so I can present this. And it's been tricky, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. It's been one of those things where it's like, I know why I do what I do, but to actually break it down. And Kevin, I'll let you speak a little bit more on it. It's been challenging, but so rewarding. So I can be like, okay, I can actually, I now feel empowered to go into my organization and look at different things that have been going on that we've just been doing because we're used to doing them, but nobody has any idea why we do it anymore. We're just doing it because that's just what we know. And I feel more empowered actually having this piece of like this layout in front of me of being like, hey, like, we don't need to do this anymore because we don't even know why we're doing it. So let's, instead of wasting our time on things that don't even matter or aren't being productive or producing anything, let's focus on things that are going to produce. And this is what these said things are. It's brilliant. And I think that Kevin's going to be talking about it in Maryland. But I just, a strategic plan is so important, I think, for anybody, all of us, to be able to really understand, why we do what we do. So if you want to talk about it.
Well, yeah, these kind of going through like the exercise of taking something like fairly generic as a strategy and kind of honing it into what you do, it's good because I think people have to recognize that it is a process, that we didn't knock it out, in Colorado Springs when we kind of met in person, right after that, there is some work in like really defining what you do, because you can put down, oh yeah, I do these 3 things, and then but it's really when you go like, oh, but what about this? Oh yeah, of course I do that too, and this, and so what it does, I think, a really good job of making sure that you're pulling your head out of the weeds, like every once in a while, and when we talk about quarterly is like a good time to do it, because it's so easy to get swamped, everyone is. So I think it makes sure that you are like being strategic throughout the year, kind of one, but better understanding, the path, because you've really mapped it out. It's not just a list of this year we're going to do these 10 things. You really kind of have a map of how, one objective supports this one supports this one, and then how it ladders up. So that way, so I think what you're recognizing, Michael, because you just said it, is, you start to learn what not to do during your day, that you were just doing it because you did it last year and you did it the year before that. Doesn't work? I don't know, but this is the way I do things, so I think it allows you to be more efficient, but then communicate that to, leadership and everyone else, so they can figure out how they can contribute towards it as well. So yeah, I guess yeah, I mean, if I'm happy to talk more about it, in Maryland with anyone who's interested. But
yeah.
Now that we're in the final 5-minute stretch, don't want to leave out the chapter, because I think what you guys are doing in Colorado is just like so amazing, and taking so much initiative to take what's happening at the national level and making it work, in your region. So what do you want to talk about on that?
Oh, well, so what's interesting, and I was thinking about this a lot. I've been thinking about this a lot. Is that well, obviously, I feel like sometimes Colorado can be a little bit more of a progressive state than some of the other states. But I also kind of feel like there was this divine timing with Gina Thorne coming to Colorado when she did, and she met, like, she hired on me. She met Megan from Cedar, who was doing alumni stuff. She met Laura Beth from Aspen Ridge. And she kind of met all of us at the same time, and we were all alumni people and all struggling. I don't want to say that's a lie. We were not struggling. We're doing great. But we're not struggling. But, she brought us all together to say, hey, like, what can we do to help each other out? We all are in the same areas. We all refer to one another. And so it was kind of like this beautiful just birthing, like, divine timing of saying, hey, like, you guys are all like starting in these roles around the same time. Like, get your people on board with TPAS. And she just champions TPAS. Like, when she talks about TPAS, nobody can say no, essentially. She's just wicked. And so we all got to go to the collaborative together. Like, we literally, one collab, so basically when we were all at the collaborative, the 2 different ones within the same year. And so then we all just decided to meet up for coffee. And then we all just we're like, hey, like, let's make this a thing. Because we also realized with our chapter where we all do our alumni services is that, like I shared in Malibu, we also share clients, because we have people that go to Aspen Ridge, that go to Cedar, and vice versa. So we want alumni to understand that they have a bigger community that they have more than just one person that reaches out to them. And so we decided, hey, like, let's make this a monthly thing to talk with each other and help each other out. So as soon as we did that, you guys, it just exploded. And I think it's just because, you know, we are all individuals that really just kind of share that same goal of wanting people so badly to succeed in recovery, and showing that, hey, we're not competitive, we're collaborative, because we take that collaborative spirit from TPAS. And we've just started creating, we now do a successful, like, at least four events each year for softball. Like, we do a kickball Rockies game, the Pride Parade, and we also do Back to Basics with Wally and Britt. But we do these things together, and, you know, just to be able to show everybody and to be able to say, hey, like, we're all in this together, because once we're all alumni, we're all people in recovery. And and honestly, you guys, like, we really do too, because we just have way more fun. Like, it's just so much more fun putting alumni events on with other people in other organizations. So then you can also just get to know people in your area. And, you know, like, it's really about the fun factor.
Yeah.
It really is. But it's, you know, it's just, it's really awesome, I guess, again, to just have those like-minded individuals right now in these positions that want to collaborate. So I think that's really huge too, is to be able to have people in that alumni role, you know, and to also have their bosses, you know, be championing them to want to be collaborative. And so I feel really blessed and really fortunate to be in a state where that is the case.
And I love how active you guys all are on Basecamp in between your meetings.
Yeah.
There's so much back and forth going on. It's wonderful to see.
It's so fun. Like, it's just, because it's like, that's what recovery is about, like, helping each other out. And like, I never feel that I'm alone. And it's a really cool feeling, even within Basecamp, to be like, hey, like, where even if I'm a one-man show at work, like, I'm really not, because I have all these other people that are here to support me. And it's the coolest feeling. It's like my invisible coworkers on Basecamp.
Right.
So were things like the Sober Bowl like a result of the those meetings, or?
Yeah, like the Sober Bowl we did, where we had, you know, close to 200 people. Like, that was a result of us all getting together, talking about it, saying, hey, let's do this together, because we all want to watch the Sober Bowl. So the Sober Bowl, the Super Bowl. I'm like, we all want to watch the Sober Bowl. So we found a space, and then we're like, you know, we all divvied up, like, you know, like food. And, you know, we just make it happen. I don't know. It's like just this, like, innate, like, just desire to, like, recover. I don't know.
That's fun. 200 people came to that?
Yeah, we ran out of food in the first quarter. We had to order more pizzas, more food. Like, we couldn't believe how many people came. We're like, oh, we had like 60 last year. And then people just kept coming. And me and LB were like, we need more pizza.
Yeah, I love that. And that's like universal alumni services. You never know who's coming or how many.
Yeah. It's so fun, you guys. Like,
it is like, fun.
You know, like, that's just like, to just wrap it up. It's like, you know, this is like, again, this is what TPAS has provided, you know, and I think when people see this, you know, if you really grasp that this is possible, you know, anybody can have this, you know, and TPAS really has created this culture of empowerment and willingness to just help people succeed, like a genuine desire. Like, I feel like all of you want all of us to succeed.
Absolutely.
So rich.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Well done.
Michael. I mean, I think all of this, you know, even though I've been close to a lot of what you're talking about, you know, I'm still learning, you know, and I think that's really kind of the point of these, to keep, you know, sharing. And, you know, I mean, I think it also just shows how much is possible to accomplish, you know, if you kind of put your mind to it too. So you're certainly leading in that respect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So
that was great.
Thank you, Michael.
You guys have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.